Ui. Wah. Wah. Ui. Wah. Oh. Oh.
Well, hello and welcome. It's lovely for me, Reverend Martin, to be joining you in your classroom today. I'm delighted that it's my turn to take our collective worship or our assembly together and to be following what Andy's been doing over previous weeks, looking at British values. And I know that the value we're going to explore today is one that you will all know, because I know it's a value that you talk a lot about at Gayton Primary School, and I know in the St Peter's, the word that's used to shape the values of St Peter's School, it appears as one of the letters in St Peter's. So we'll get to that in a moment. First of all, though, I'm going to light our collective worship candle, just so that we can still our hearts wherever you are in your classroom or wherever you are today. Just still your heart a little bit to set this short time aside that we might focus on God and what He might have to say to us through His word today. Okay, so as I light the candle, let me just say a short prayer for us. Heavenly Father, we thank you that we can meet, knowing that you are with us. Your light shines in our midst. In the short time that we share now, may we learn things which would stand us in good stead for the rest of our lives. Amen. Great. Now, I don't know if any of you or some of you may well be enjoying the European football competition that's going on at the moment, Euro 2020. Maybe you're watching quite a lot of games, but many of you will yourselves play in teams. It might be football, it might be other netball team or hockey team or swimming team or some other kind of team. And you will know that a team has people who've got lots of individual skills. They may be good at particular aspects of the game. So in football, you may be a striker, or you may be a defender, you may be in midfield, the goalkeeper, all kinds of different strengths that different individual players have. But in order to play the game together, you have to kind of follow the rules. There are some things that we need to agree on doing together, and you have to show some respect for the rules of the game. Have a look at this sign here. This is something that we would be doing if we were with you in the school. This is what we would do. Take a look. It's quite a funny road sign, isn't it? It's actually a real road sign from Canada. And you can picture this sign at a road crossing. We call it a zebra crossing in this country. And it encourages people to use their imagination, their thought as they cross the road, maybe to think about doing something really individual and unique, some kind of silly walk as they cross the road. So you can imagine individuals doing silly walks, but even if they walk in a silly way across the roads, they've of course got to still respect the rules of the road. Before stepping into the road, they'd need to look right and look left and look right again and make sure there was no traffic coming and that it was safe to cross. Now, if we were in school, I would really look forward to this bit. I'd be asking some of you to come to the front and demonstrate your silliest walk. So what I'll do first, though, is I'll show you a little video. This is a couple in America, a family in America, who set aside, not a road, but the bit of their pavement outside their house and got their neighbours to use it to do silly walks. Take a look at this.
our neighbors on our block started participating immediately. It would not be possible without all these great neighbors that we have who are coming here and doing this. Late one night, my phone just started like dinging over and over again, and I picked it up and I said to Carl, I'm getting all these hits on our Yorkshire Silly Walks account. Like, what's going on? And it turns out a neighbor of ours that we didn't know had gone by and taken a photo of her husband doing a very silly walk. And that posting went viral on Facebook. And so the hits just started coming in. And what went from like a dozen people, most of which I begged to join, is now at nearly 55,000.
Wasn't it funny? Can you imagine that? Quite amusing, isn't it? Some of those funny walks. And I remember that sketch from Monty Python, the Ministry of Silly Walks. It's worth looking at if you want to laugh. Now, if we were in school, we would probably ask 3 or 4 of you to come to the front of the school hall and demonstrate a silly walk. And maybe we'd ask the rest of you to vote which you thought was the silliest walk. So if your teacher, teaching assistant in your classroom, thinks that's a good thing to do and it would be worth doing for 5 minutes, maybe you could get 3 or 4 people to the front of the class, you could demonstrate a silly walk, and then you could all vote to see which you thought was the silliest. If you want to do that, just pause the video for a moment, do that, and then come back afterwards. Great, so you may have done that, you may not, but a silly walk is a way of expressing our freedom, our individuality, doing things that are a bit different. But actually, even if we do that, we still need to show some respect to other people. In our country, we're free to make lots of choices. We can express our own opinions. We can decide how we'll do things. We have the freedom of speech. But in all those things, as we express ourselves individually, we need to show a level of respect to other people. Just like players playing a game need to respect the referee and the rules of the game. Just like crossing the road, you need to respect the rules of the road. So in the way that we express our individual freedoms, we need to show respect to one another. And as I said earlier, both those at Gayton and at St Peter's, you'll know that because respect, I know, is one of your values. It's the R, isn't it, in St Peter's? And I've heard Mrs McAnally speak about it several times at Gayton. Well, Jesus had something to say about respect as well. Here's a couple of things that he said that we would find in the Bible. Both of these are in Matthew's Gospel. Jesus is speaking to the crowds and he says this to them. Jesus said, "In everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets." What he means by that is if you take the whole of the Old Testament, the law and the prophets, you could sum it up in what's sometimes called the golden rule. To do to others, to treat others what you would want them to do to you. To treat others as you would want them to treat you. And of course it was then Jesus who also said, love your neighbour as yourself. Love your neighbour as yourself. In other words, put the interests of others first. Think about other people when you act yourself. In other words, show respect. So what I'd like you to do just for a moment is maybe in a 2 or 3 on your table, however you are arranged in your classroom, you might like just to have a quick think and to think, can you think of a time when you were treated really kindly and well? Can you just share together a time when you were treated really kindly and well? And then share with one another, what did that feel like? When someone showed you respect, when they treated you kindly and well, what did it feel like? Just take a couple of minutes in 2s or 3s on your tables, in your classes, to talk about that and share it together. Well, I hope you've had a good conversation there. I hope as you were sharing, you probably discovered that when someone treats us with respect, it makes us feel quite good, doesn't it? It means that someone values us. We know that someone's thinking about us in the way that they choose to act or the words that they choose to say. It's good to be shown respect. That's how we like to be treated. And so when we think about the words of Jesus, to treat others as we would have them treat us, it summons us to think about treating other people with respect, because that's how we ourselves would like to be treated. Sometimes that can be quite hard though. Here, just think for a moment. Sometimes when we're out with our mates, hanging around with people, we can be a bit like this. I wonder if you know what this creature is. This creature is a chameleon. And there's something very clever about chameleons that they're able to do that not many animals can. And that is they can change their colour depending what their background is. So if they're against a green background, they turn a little bit green so that they can hide. In other words, they just blend in with whatever is going on around them. And sometimes it can be a bit easy for us to be like that. If we're out with our friends or other people and maybe they're not behaving so well, it's easy for us just to go along with the crowd, to blend in with what our mates are doing and to lose our sense of value ourselves. In contrast, though, rather than being like a chameleon that changes with what's going on around us, look at this picture here. Here's a stick of rock. Maybe you've been to the seaside and you bought some rock. It's horrible, sticky, sweet stuff. Not very good for you. But you may know that rock has running right through its middle often letters. It's the name of the place sometimes where you buy it. So this piece of rock comes from the place of Brighton. And it's got the word Brighton written all the way through. I couldn't find a picture that had respect written all the way through. But in a sense, Jesus is summoning us to be people who have respect written right the way through us. So it's part of our character, it's who we are, it's how we always behave, independent of what's going on around us and how others are behaving. So if we want people to treat us with respect, then maybe we could resolve to be those who treat them with respect. And that runs all the way through us, and it doesn't change depending on who we're with or who we're hanging out with. Now, I know in this series we've heard from a woman called Emma, who's been talking about British values and different values each week. Today she's talking about respect, and she interviews one of her friends who plays in a hockey team. So let's go over to Emma and hear what she has to say to us.
Hello, it's lovely to see you. Oh, well, I realise you can't shake my hand. I guess that's just a habit of mine. Did you know that people have been shaking hands for thousands of years? The ancient Greeks shook hands as a gesture of peace. It showed that each person held no weapon and represented no threat. Both individuals put themselves on a level playing field and did not consider themselves better than the other. Instead, they were equals. The handshake is a sign of mutual respect. To respect someone is to treat them as you wish to be treated. Jesus said that, and what's more, he lived it. He went to those who were considered weak and worthless in society with a message of peace and love. He demonstrated to them that they were valuable in God's eyes. God sees every human life equally valuable. Therefore, whoever we meet, no matter how different they are, we should treat them with respect. If we all respected each other more, then the world would be a more peaceful place. I want to find out more about how we can respect one another. So I have a little bit of time to catch up with my friend Ruth, who is a hockey player, and she's going to tell us how she respects her team in her game. Ruth, how long have you been playing hockey for?
I've been playing hockey for 17 years, since I was 10 years old, so quite a long time.
Wow, yeah, that is a long time. So you must have played a wide variety of people during that time.
Yeah, I've played all over this country, and I've also played in different countries and played against people of different ages and different boys and girls.
Great. So how do you show respect to the other team when playing the game?
Well, I think respect is really important for playing the game, and we usually do this by listening to what the umpire tells us and going with their decisions even if we don't agree. And we also give 3 cheers to the other team at the end of the game and make sure we shake hands with everybody.
Has anybody ever not shown respect during the game, and well, how does that make you feel?
Unfortunately, sometimes that does happen, and it's quite frustrating when it does, because we all play hockey for fun, and it sort of takes the fun out of it a little bit. But also, as a Christian, I really feel that Jesus tells us to love our neighbour, and I think that includes everybody on the hockey pitch, so our opposition and the umpire. And so, yeah, we really do try and show respect to everybody on the pitch.
That's great. Thanks very much, Ruth. I hope your game goes well this afternoon.
Thanks.
So as we can see, mutual respect requires sacrifice on both sides. In a handshake, each person has to put their hand out. To treat someone as we wish to be treated displays respect and allows for peace. We are all special. Remember that as you go about your day. And why not give the person next to you a handshake? Or perhaps a hug.
That was great, wasn't it? Emma and her friend had some really good ideas about how we can show respect for one another, whether that's her teammates on the same side, the opposition playing against her, or the referee and the person organising the match. I like what she said about handshake as well. That was really interesting, wasn't it? Although unfortunately, we probably aren't yet able to shake someone else's hand or give them a hug. Hopefully it's not too long before we can do that as a way of showing our at peace, our respect and our love for somebody else. What we're going to do now is we're going to pray together, and I'm going to lead us in some short prayers. And each of these prayers, you'll notice, begins with the letters of the word respect, R-E-S-P-E-C-T. And it may be that you'd like to pray them together in your class as they go up on the screen. You might like to pray them out loud. Perhaps you'd like to just pray them quietly in your own heart, or maybe just listen to other people as they pray and think about what these words would mean for you. But let's pray together. So, R. Dear God, help us today to take responsibility for how we act. Help us to consider others as we enjoy our freedom. E. Help us to be thoughtful of everyone so that nobody is left out of fun and activities today. S. Help us to serve each other, giving thought to the feelings and values of others, not just ourselves. P. Help us to be patient with others when they make mistakes today, and with ourselves when we get things wrong. E. Help us to enjoy being part of our class, our year group, and this school today. C. Help us to care for our school grounds, our classrooms, our textbooks, and the equipment we use. Thank you that we have so much to look after. T. Help us, Lord, this day to treat others as we wish to be treated. Amen. Great. So as we draw our time together to a close, the takeaway today for you to take away into the rest of the day is that you probably can't quite yet get to the point where we can shake someone's hand, although you might remember what shaking someone's hand means and how that shows that we're equals, meeting together, respecting one another. But maybe you can find some other way of brightening someone else's day today. And when you get to the end of your school day, as you leave school, maybe you could ask someone, can you remember the Bible verse that Reverend Martin used in our collective worship, our assembly today? Can you remember the Bible verse that Reverend Martin used? So let's just remind ourselves of it now. It's where Jesus says, in everything, do to others as you would have them do to you. Do to others as you would have them do to you. Treat others as you would want them to treat you. And if you remember, it's found in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 7, verse 12. If your friends are really clever, see if they can remember where it is in the Bible. And it's often called the Golden Rule, because it's not unique to Jesus. Other people taught this as well, but it has a special significance for Christians because Jesus also taught us to love our neighbour as ourselves. So as we finish, I'm going to blow out our collective worship candle. I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to leave us with a song. It's a song that just encourages us to go, be ready and serve a God in the way that we live our lives today. So, nice to see you today. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.
We're ready to go, 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 go. Ready to grow, 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 grow. Everyone's so welcome. You're welcome. Ready to go, 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 go. Ready to grow, 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 grow. Everyone's so welcome. You're welcome. Yes, we're all different. That's community. I'm not like you and you are not like me. For we are all designed so uniquely. But all are welcome, that's a guarantee. Ready to go, 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 go. Ready to grow, 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 grow. Everyone's so welcome. You're welcome. Ready to go, 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 go. Ready to grow, 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 grow. Everyone's so welcome. You're welcome. We've come together so that we can grow, learning to do and be and not just know. We want our values and beliefs to show, and from our heads into our actions flow. We're ready to go, 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 go. Ready to grow, 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 grow. Everyone's so welcome. You're welcome. Ready to go, 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 go. Ready to grow, 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 grow. Everyone's so welcome. You're welcome. Come gather, we gather. Let's gather together. Come gather, we gather. Let's gather together. Come gather, we gather. Let's gather together. Come gather, we gather. Let's gather